Hello and welcome at the Chess Steps demo lesson step 2. Today's lesson is about the double attack, which is a really neat attack, and if used properly, it will win you a lot of games. But before we start talking about that, I quickly need to check whether you remembered some important things we covered in step 1. Among other things, the value of your pieces, because without knowing that, we might as well stop this lesson because you wouldn't understand it. Well, let me quickly answer my own question. A queen is worth 9 points, a rook is worth 5 points, a knight and a bishop are both worth 3 points, and a pawn is worth only 1 point. And you probably also remember that those points won't win you games directly, but they tell you something about your position. And the value of the pieces is determined by the mobility of the pieces. For instance, a rook and a bishop almost equal a queen because they can almost cover the same ground a queen can. Well, we've covered that, and let's move on. Another important concept is the concept of attacking and capturing. It was already covered a bit in step 1, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more in this lesson because it will prove to be a really important concept to understand throughout the whole course up until step 6. For instance, at this position, we're looking at a queen on b3, right here, and it's attacking the king. We call that check in chess. The king is one of what we call attacking targets. King is an attacking target. And the king is a really useful attacking target because if we attack the king, we oblige our opponent to do something about that, to move out of check. In this specific position, the king could easily get out of check by moving away, like this. Let's look at the next position. Same deal. We see a rook right here attacking a white king on f2. Again, the king as an attacking target. The king has to move because it's check, and check obliges you to do something about it. And it's our turn again. Let's move on. This is a different kind of attacking target, a different kind of example of an attacking target we see here. It's not the king, but we see a white queen on b3 attacking the bishop on b7. And the bishop on b7 is a piece, but when it comes to the concept of attacking and capturing, we call the bishop on b7 material. Pieces that aren't protected, loose pieces, we call material. And the bishop of b7 is an example of material. It will have to move in order to prevent it from being captured. Another example, I'm quickly going to let you take a look. Who's attacking who? Well, if you're any good, you already saw that the rook on f6 is attacking the knight on f2. Again, the knight on f2 isn't protected, it's ready for the take, so the knight on f2 is an example of material. It will have to move in order to save its ass. Pardon my French. Well, let's look at another example. Right here. In this example, we see a rook on b3, but it is protected by its own bishop on c4. Unfortunately for white, the rook is attacked by two opposing rooks right here, which means it's insufficiently protected. So if black says, I'll take here, and white recaptures, then black will have gained 3 points. This is also an example of material. Insufficiently defended pieces, so pieces that aren't defended as much as they're attacked, are also an example of material. It's an opportunity for us to win some points. Let's look at another example of material. Who's attacking who? Well, you're a good chess player, so you have seen that the white knight on e5 is attacking the rook on g6, and that's why we covered the value of the pieces, because a knight is worth only 3 points, a rook is worth 5 points, which means that white is about to win 2 points, unless black moves its rook away, which it will do here. And coincidentally, it attacks the white knight now. Again, an example of material. So what is material? Material are pieces that aren't protected, loose pieces. Are pieces that are being attacked more than they are defended, and it's also pieces that are attacked by a piece that's worth less than they are. So we've got the king as an attacking target, we've got material as an attacking target, and number 3, I'm going to show you right now, is the square. A square is also an attacking target. If white was to move in this specific position, it would move to a really good square. Can you see it? It's a classic mate on the back rank. White is attacking the square on c8 because if it will move there, it's checkmate. So c8 is a really nice square to attack. If it was black to move, however, black would have an interesting option as well. I'm going to give you a second, not too much because it would take up too much of my time. Black is attacking our rook, the square on h4, because if it would move there, yes, this is my new main line, it would be checkmate as well. So the third attacking target is a square. Well, so we've got 3 attacking targets. I think we're ready to talk about the double attack, because in all the examples we looked at, it was possible for our opponents to defend against our attack. But wouldn't it be neat if we would have an attack that could not be defended against, if we would force our opponent to choose between 2 evils? Well, that's exactly what we do with a double attack. We attack 2 attacking targets at the same time, forcing our opponent to choose which one to save. In this specific example, you see the queen on f6 attacking the king, attacking target the king, and the rook on d4, 2 attacking targets. And I already told you, check is really a nice thing to do, because the king as an attacking target will force your opponent to save it, after which we say thank you very much, and we won 5 points. This was an example of a queen double attack done on material and the king. And that's the kind of double attack we're going to look at through this lesson. And further on in the course, we'll look at other double attacks, but today the focus is on this. Let's look at another example. Can you see the double attack? Well, I don't think it's that hard to see, because the queen on c5 again is attacking the king, attacking the bishop on c4. The king moves, we capture the bishop. Thank you very much. We won 3 points. A successful double attack will always win you points. If you don't win points, it's not a successful double attack, and we don't even call it a double attack. Let's move on. Right here, same deal. Check is given right here, and if white moves, which he needs to, we capture a 9. Nice example, right? Whoa, is this position wrong or what? It isn't wrong, it's a kind of exercise. You're holding a white queen in your hand. Where would you put it? And I want you to put it on a square where a successful double attack is performed. There are a couple of squares where that is possible. I'm going to let you think for 5 seconds. 2 seconds left. 1 second left. Let's take a look. A successful double attack is performed on a7. Check is given. A rook is attacked. And if the king moves, we say thank you very much, and we capture the rook. Another successful double attack is performed on f2. We attack the rook. We attack the king. The king needs to move, and we capture the rook. An unsuccessful double attack, a really unsuccessful double attack, is performed on f5. Even though we are attacking the king and the rook, a double attack, it is easily defended, and in a terrible way, by capturing our queen. Bye-bye, 9 points. So if you perform a double attack, make sure you do it on a safe square where your piece can't be captured. Let's take a look at one of other exercises. Same deal. Where would you put your queen if you wanted to perform a successful double attack? Let's take a look. It's a5 indeed, because we are attacking the king, we are attacking the rook, and if the king moves, we capture the rook. An unsuccessful double attack again would be d5, because even though we are attacking the king, and the rook, black's problems are solved by saying thank you to the gift and gaining 9 points. Let's move on. Where would you put your queen? In this case, a black queen. And you need to attack both the bishop and the king. There again are a couple of options. H1, attacking the bishop and the king. H3, attacking the king and the bishop. And C4. And what's really important that in all these examples, white cannot solve both its problems. Another example. Well, again, where would you put your queen? I'm not going to spend too much time on it because by now you get the hang of it. G6 and G5 work. But now we see something interesting. D5 doesn't work. Why not? We have a successful double attack. We're attacking the king and the knight, and we are on a safe square. But black has an interesting defensive resource. It can solve both problems by putting the knight in front of the king, getting out of check and saving its knight at the same time. So when you perform a double attack, make sure that your opponent can solve both the problems with a hidden defensive resource. Black here, we can place a queen on the board for a successful double attack. Where would you place it? A couple of options again. E1 works, C1 works. In both cases, we are on safe squares and our opponent needs to move its king. It can place the rook in between, so we gain 5 points after capturing the rook. However, A5 is an example of a double attack which doesn't work because now white can place its rook in between and both problems are solved. We saved our rook. Different kind of exercise. We've got the queen on the board. You can see it right here. And where can you move it to perform a double attack? Well, we see a loose piece on A5, the bishop. We see the king on A7. Where can we give check and attack the bishop at the same time? It's on A7. King moves. Thank you very much. 3 points gain. Successful double attack. Next position. Where can we move the queen to perform a successful double attack? We can move it to H5. Attacking the rook and the king. Oops, overshot that one. We can move it to F3. Yes, this is my new main line. We're attacking the king. We're attacking the rook. Thank you very much. Only one problem can be solved. And F1, new main line. Does it work? No, it does not, because white can solve both those problems by putting the rook in between. Again, make sure your opponent doesn't have any defensive resources. So we're going to look at the first exercise in the workbook. As you can see, we've got a black queen on C1. We're black. We're going to try to perform a successful double attack. But before we start shouting all kinds of answers, I want you to successfully apply a searching strategy. Step 1, identify material. Right here and right here, there are 2 loose pieces. That's a strong sign that perhaps there is something to gain. Then we start looking at the squares where we can give check. Well, G1 and H1 we rule out because that's a stupid queen sacrifice, but F4 and H6 are interesting possibilities. F4, however, doesn't work. Even though it looks like we're performing a successful double attack, by now you should know better, because white can solve both its problems by moving the king to G1. Let's look at another option. H6. Well, let's just move it there. And what are we doing right now? Well, we're attacking both a king and a knight. And only one problem can be solved. In this case, the king has precedent. And we say, thank you for the knight. Thank you for a successful double attack. And I'm saying thank you for watching my lesson. I hope you enjoyed it.